they're not here.
Continues a public hearing for Whetstone Street to propose the later date. So I'm going to open up the public hearing for Whetstone Street.
Can I make a comment before you do what you're going to do?
Well, I'm going to open it. Do you have to have a vote to open it? No. Okay, I'm going to open it. Is there any discussion after I've just opened it?
Yes.
Mr. Joe?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I mean, I think we all agree it's a public safety issue.
Correct.
Fire truck. And I think there's been some question of exactly what that radius is. And as I had said in the last meeting, I had asked Mike Dwyer, and he gave his opinion of what that is. And I totally respect Mike's opinion, but I think there's other people that have different opinions. I would go with what he said, but I think other people have different opinions. He offered to actually go and make that turn with a truck, and I think just to show the neighbors, frankly, what it's, the issue, I think maybe we should take them up on that.
Okay, excellent. Let's do it.
Provided it doesn't get stuck on. Wow.
So if we're using 50 feet, and it could be 25 and it could be 75, I don't know. But what I would suggest to Mike is park a vehicle 50 feet on each street from the intersection and see if they can do it.
Okay.
So, yes.
And one thing I would add, okay, I'm sorry, are you finished?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it, so, if they can do it like on the weekend sometime, that'd be...
You could ask him, sometimes they do some training on Sundays, so we could, is Chief Dwyer coming in tonight? So we can talk to him about that. He's coming in.
Sunday mornings, they usually do training.
Yeah, he's coming in for the, a grant.
Yes. So, yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Okay. And while it's open, I mean, this is pertinent to all the roads in West Newbury, but we do have a parking ban on, and
Winter parking ban overnight.
yeah, overnight. So just please, we've noticed some cars being parked down on Whetstone Street overnight, so we'd like to have those taken care of, and without having to ticket somebody. Okay, so we're going to close. Continue the public hearing to December 28th.
At 7 p.m.
Second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just a question, do we have to put a notice in the paper again?
No.
No, we don't,
It's
because
continuing.
we're continuing to a time certain.
Okay. Aye.
Okay, safety at the schools. Joe, you asked for this to be on, but I think this is all paramount in all of our minds after, especially going through a process when interviewing all the personnel and 2 personnel that we had that applied for the chief's position. So do you want to start, or you want me to start?
Well, I mean, what precipitated the thing is I've heard feedback from varying people from within our police department about open doors and other security issues. So I thought, maybe the chief could come in and fill us in on what her observations are and use that as a starting point. That was my thought and reason for requesting it go on.
I think we're going to hear that it's been an ongoing process down there, that they go down there every day, and we could actually maybe even talk to Chief Dwyer about this as his perspective as a police officer when he comes in tonight.
He's one of the people that, yes.
He's one of the people that I think one of us asked that question. I know one of us asked that. I'm not sure with who did. That we maybe let's start a dialogue a serious dialogue with us, people from the administration down there, and the police on how to have a safer environment down there. The elementary schools
seem more secure than the high school and middle school.
Without a doubt. And I think that might lend itself because of the older kids, and doors are being propped open, doors are not even being locked. So I know that's during their budgeting time right now. They're starting their budgeting like everybody else is. So like everything, it's probably a money issue. I've been told that the locks aren't even, they're old locks, they can't hold,
But yeah, it could be a money issue, but I think a person raised the issue a couple of weeks ago. How can it be a money issue? It can't be.
Exactly.
But it was also, we were told that there was like some barbell weights that were being used to
Mm-hmm.
keep the doors open.
Yeah, and I think, without trying to sound dramatic, and I don't want it to come across this way, please, but I think when we see, you know, all the things that are happening in the world, constantly and constantly on the news every day, that, and then we've been told abundance of times that there is just, that our police force is just frustrated and nervous about the lack of security and the way people can just get into that building at any time,
Yep.
at any place. So I think it's, you know, we're compelled to try to have, at least I think we are, to have a dialogue with
Well,
them.
we're the host community.
Yes. So what do you think? We should maybe ask somebody to come, ask somebody to have them work with us? Because I just don't want, you know, yes, don't worry, we're going to lock the doors. Well, because I think we're beyond that point, because I think the police have already asked them numerous times, you know,
Well,
I
I
think,
think we need to know specifically we need specifics from our police department.
Like this door to the.
And there are
whatever,
numerous.
the actual specifics, like the door to the gym or the door to this is a problem, you know? It should, instead of just generalities, yeah.
or even having a conversation with the superintendent or the school committee about, hey, they can't be blind to it. They must be aware of a situation.
No, because these have been reported, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they've been reported to
And
them
maybe they,
on
you
an
know,
ongoing basis.
yeah, maybe they're saying, hey, you know, we can't do anything about it, or we need.
Well, you can't say, that's.
Well, I agree. I'm trying to be sensitive and trying to be diplomatic, but Joe, I agree with you. I think it's gone beyond a point where now we have to do something about it. So, how do you want to proceed?
I think I'd go back to the starting point. I mean, I think we need the specifics, because we have to be able to speak specifics, so.
Okay. So do you think, I know we have a time period with Lisa leaving, could we ask Chris if we had a minor discussion about this tonight, and ask her if she could, before she leaves, so we could have something concrete, and if she could specifically say what her concerns are and what she's seen over the last years,
If she could document them.
and she could document them for
Right,
us?
even if there, you know, even better if there were any actual written reports. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and send us the written reports.
I'd still like to have a conversation, though. Yes, we should do that, but whether it's with Lisa or because of her retirement,
Somebody?
then it would be the sergeants in the meantime.
Okay.
So maybe our next meeting,
28th.
yes, either Lisa.
We could ask
E-
something from Lisa, and then a representative to come from the police department to speak on that behalf.
Right, one
That's
or both,
good, yeah.
one or both sergeants.
Sure. Or if Lisa wants to come.
Or she wants to
Yeah,
come.
if she
Her
wants to
option.
come, but we, you know, we're giving her.
Yes.
That sound all right? You get that?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. The next things on the agenda is the fire chief, Mike Dwyer, fire department grant. What time did you tell him to come in?
I told him at 7:15.
Perfect. So, are you expecting anybody else, planning board? No. Why don't you guys come on up, we'll take you out of order since you're here. Thank you.
Okay. I think you actually may have this, but just in case you don't, now you do.
Joe, you want to,
Yeah, I'll start.
thanks for coming in.
Um,
I'm gonna hand this over to Joe to start, please.
Yeah, I just want a couple of comments. I mean, the right of first refusal is a very complicated process, obviously. When we receive a notice to convert, time is limited, and that's not a time to try to figure out what to do and when things need to be done. So personally, I believe it's important to have a clearly defined policy so that everyone knows their responsibilities and their timeframes. So I would like to say thank you very much to the planning board for putting this draft policy together, because you obviously put a lot of time and work into it, because I have looked at it personally exhaustively, compared it to other documents, and I mean, I think you're spot on, so I appreciate the work that you did.
Thank you.
So a couple of, I have 3 things I wanted to talk about the policy itself, the draft. And I know you wanted to talk about the 3rd paragraph that we had inserted.
Yes.
So just our line of thinking with that is that, given as this is written, anytime somebody would give us a notice to convert, that it would trigger this process. So if they have 5 acres and it's a swamp that, well, that's an extreme, a swamp, but something that obviously we would have no interest in, we would still have to do this process, and all of these boards and committees would have to spend their time and evaluate the swamp, so to speak. So we were looking for a way to avoid that.
Okay.
That I would totally concur, because the whole idea is great, but there might be exactly that. The open space committee, for example, having prioritized the parcels in the town already, and this one is ranked number 137, and it has no particular use. We're going to spend a lot of time and effort to notify all these people, all the boards and committees come together to vote on this, and just turning our wheels to say, well, we're not interested. So, I mean, I just think some way we could have them, all the parcels that we think might be in this situation, are they useful for water or recreation or keeping as conservation or whatever? If we could just have them on, on an updated master list ahead of time, it would be helpful.
I'm glad you just said that, because I actually asked the chairperson of Open Space to give us an update of their priority parcel list. It was fairly recently, but they haven't done that. If you don't mind, if the 2 of you are in agreement, could we ask Chris to send an email to the chairperson of the Open Space Committee to...
Ask for an updated one?
Yes, from the Selectmen's office, an update of their priority parcel list.
I'd like to ask Mr. Cook, would that affect, that would be open space desirable parcels, but what about something that might be useful for, I don't know, water, for example? That wouldn't necessarily be prioritized as open space. Even it might have no views, be tremendously unsightly, but it might be a good water place. So it doesn't necessarily fall in that it's into that category. So how do we find those?
If I could address this.
You guys wanted to discuss the number 3. So
Well, that's part of what we're discussing here.
Yeah.
If I may, it's clearly the intent of the Mass General laws for the selectmen to have the decision on the right of first refusal. This procedure goes even further by expressly stating that you guys, or the selectmen that are sitting at the time, have the sole authority to exercise the right of first refusal. So first of all, because there was initial feedback where it seemed like maybe we were trying to take some authority away. We're not. And in fact, this is stronger than the Mass General
I
law.
don't feel that way.
Good.
No.
Second thing is, it's also clearly the intent of the Mass General law that you guys have the best information you can get to make this decision. And this procedure, by going out to what is referred to herein as the town entities, you get a chance to get that information. Now, you said it's going to take a whole lot of effort and whatnot. It probably won't always do it. If you had a particular parcel that was all swamped that the Open Space Committee had at, step 121, I suspect the chair of the Open Space Committee could just send you an email saying, we have no interest. and the other town entities would have the same possibility. However, there's always the chance that there's a parcel out there which, at first look, from sitting behind those tables, it looks like it's of no use, where one of these town entities is, wait, hold on there a sec. This is of particular use, and here's the reason why. By setting the meeting up as in item number 7 after you've added 3, it used to be item 6, but with your addition. That sets that the Board of Selectmen will set an agenda item at the next available meeting that will still allow the town entities a reasonable opportunity to prepare recommendations. By going along with that statement, it only slows down the whole process a little bit, and it makes sure that you get all the information. If there's a new list from the Open Space Committee, you might not know about it. The Open Space Committee would now have a chance to give you that information. Yeah, so the whole idea here is that you guys have a chance to get the best information by giving all these town entities a chance to respond. They may choose not to. If they don't respond, that at the next available meeting, you're to interpret that as they have no interest in the land, and that's also called out in this procedure.
So basically, if we insert number 3, it's basically the same way that we've been doing it now, and that's what you're trying not to do. You're trying to make sure that we have all the necessary information or unnecessary information from all the boards and committees in town before we say no. Because if we insert 3, what they're here for is so 3 doesn't happen.
We're here because you asked us to be here. But
well, I understand,
I would say that.
I mean, you're all shaking. I mean, I mean, let's be real here. Let's get it out of the table.
It's got to be 3 or 7. It can't be both. And 3 doesn't really fit the spirit of the law, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, because that's what we have now. What's happened on parcels, if we've acted, I guess, on parcels and took it upon ourselves to say no to something that I think other towns and boards would have liked us to at least consider or gathered more information about. So this kind of, right. No, it did. That's what happened. And so now, and then the boards and committees in town says, hey, listen, we need to rethink this, and let's try to get something in that, it kind of mandates to make sure the selectmen, not us or anybody in the future, gets all the information they can before they say yes or no to it. That's what this is going to do. I mean, which is not a bad thing. I'm just bringing it into layman's terms.
That's the intent of the law, and that's the intent of this procedure, yes.
And I think that's good. I'm just, what's our carrot or what's our stick to get people to do it? It's hard to get boards to, okay, we find out about something, and then they have to call a meeting, and they have to set an agenda, and there's, I'm just, in terms of the time, the more committees involved, people are gonna complain and say, we can't do it next week, can you hold it off another week? We just don't want that, I just don't want that happening.
Which has happened in the past.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we made a vote, and they said, well, why didn't you do it?
Let me throw out an idea.
Just wish there was a way to make it happen.
If I may, I think the carrot and the stick there is that the carrot is that it's a more inclusive procedure so that these entities feel like they've had a say. A carrot from your point of view is if this procedure's in place, you can say, well, we followed the procedure, you had a chance to respond, you didn't, so we had to move along, we got a time period here.
Let me
and then the other, and the stick here is that if somebody doesn't speak up to you folks, they may lose their chance to try to.
Not may, they will.
They'll lose their chance
to
tell you about a parcel that they are interested in.
We need to have a deadline.
7 gives that deadline.
The deadline would be our next meeting.
Yeah, which is
that's pretty.
So if everybody agrees with that, so within 2 weeks, so we have a regular scheduled meeting. So we would have one. We would have one today. So if 61A came in today, we would say, okay, Chris, send everything out.
December 28th.
December 28th, we're making our vote yes or no. That's what number 7 says.
To me, number 7 might say that instead of December 28th, you go to your first meeting in January. It depends on when it comes in and you know, what's going on at the time.
What number 7 says is our next scheduled meeting, which would be the 28th.
The next meeting that will allow the interested parties to respond.
Well, then you could say, well, conservation never meets every other week,
No, but-
every other month.
But the
I
conservation.
won't vote on that, because that's too ambiguous. You know, will allow. So somebody would say, well, we need to go get a thing that's gonna take, you know what I mean? If we're making it even more ambiguous in that respect.
It says in number 7, if I may, it says a reasonable opportunity to prepare a recommendation. Now that might be the sort of thing where the chair or somebody in whatever town entity is just needs 2 days, 3 days to respond. And if somebody needs to call a meeting and I would think that as long as they have 2 or 3 weeks, that's a reasonable opportunity. But if somebody came in on Thursday of last week, I wouldn't expect you to have the meeting on it today, 4 or 5 days later, because that wouldn't give a reasonable opportunity
Okay.
for the email to go
Let me
out.
throw out a kind of a middle ground, maybe.
Hold on for 1 second, please, just so hold on. Mike, something comes in tomorrow, 61A, okay? Parcel B on Main Street, okay? We have 30 days to respond back to them that it's a proper,
Form,
It's a proper form, yeah.
yes.
proper form,
That's correct.
okay?
No.
No, okay, so I want you to tell us, without reading any of this and the intent of whatever, and maybe I want you to tell me what the exact law is, without reading this.
You have 2 different scenarios.
Yep,
First is you receive a notice to exercise the right of first refusal, that
Yep.
there's a purchase and sale agreement.
yep,
Okay, that's one category.
yep,
Let's discuss that.
yep,
What that means is that you have 30 days from the time it's mailed, okay, not received, mailed, for the town to determine whether or not it constitutes a bona fide purchase and sale agreement.
okay.
Which means a sales agreement without any contingencies. Since most of these development ones are
Contingent,
you're contingent upon getting permits,
and those
they
aren't
don't.
real
You have to,
because.
once you do that, once you exercise that, then
or-
you notify
or Special
them,
permits and stuff like that.
any type
Yep.
of permit.
Yep,
Once you notify them of that fact, then you have to wait, would have to wait to represent it when when all the contingencies have been met, all right? Continuing with that scenario, let's suppose you do get a purchase and sale agreement with all the contingencies that have been met. From that time, you have 120 days
yep,
in order to determine whether you will put yourself in that, you will basically take over that purchase and sale agreement,
correct,
okay? Or you could, one of the options is assign it to a nonprofit organization. And essentially, you become the buyer, and the obligations in the purchase and sale become yours.
And from that point, you have 90 days to close the
Right.
deal,
So you'd have like 120 days
plus 90.
plus 90 days.
Right.
yep,
Okay? So that's the purchase and sale scenario. Second scenario is the
taking it off the text.
notice.
Yep,
Notice, they say, okay, we're not going to keep this in 61A, B, or 61A or 61B anymore. We're going to make this a condo. At that point, you have 30 days to get an appraisal of the property. And you get the appraisal. You present that as a price. And then you get 120 days go from there. Now, if the person doesn't like your appraisal, they have the right to get within 30 days their own appraisal.
their own appraisal, and then if we don't like that, we
can
And
can
if,
get
get
if
another one.
both parties can't agree, then the 2 appraisers select a third appraiser, who then within 30 days, and that becomes the price, and then you've got 120 days. Okay?
Yep,
So,
No,
the key factor here is, though, in order to get someone to appraise it, you got to give them like 2 weeks. Okay, they can't go over there the next day and do it. You know, people are working, so
You got to move quick.
you got to move really quick on any notices.
Yes.
You get a little bit more flexibility with the purchase and sale, because you've got the 120 days. But with the notice, you got to know whether you're going to do it right away, and know whether where the money is to hire the person to do the appraisal.
That's a good point, too.
Okay, yep, okay. Mr. Cook?
I very respectfully have to disagree with that interpretation of the law.
In terms of,
You have 30 days to decide whether or not the notice of intent is correct. And if it's not, you have 30 days to tell whether or not the notice of intent is correct. That's true in both cases, whether there's a purchase and a sale or intention to convert. Part of whether or not an offer is, part of whether or not the notice of intent is correct has to do with whether or not a purchase and sale is bona fide, which Mr. McCarron was talking about. You always have, if the notice of intent is determined to be correct, the period of 120 days starts when the notice was given to the town, whether it's the postal date or whether it was hand-delivered. There's two methods that it could be done.
right.
The way the procedure is laid out, I specifically spent time to make sure that there was time for the appraisal to be done, et cetera. So when I say in the procedure, when the procedure says a period of time that gives boards a reasonable chance to respond, that means is not just a few days after getting a notice of intent that's correct. It means giving a couple of weeks. And if you do that, you've got the input from everybody, and we're good to go. I'm not so much concerned about a notice of intent coming in tomorrow and you scheduling on the 28th. I'm worried about a notice of intent coming in on the 26th, and then you decide on the 28th. And I think, and you're right, there is ambiguity here, because it says...
But, okay, hold on.
Yep.
I want you to define that, because I thought that was something different than what you said here. So you're saying, so if something comes in on the 26th and we vote, we exercise number 3, that's what you're nervous about. You're not nervous about us getting something in on the 26th. On the 28th, we say, okay, at our next scheduled meeting, we're going to vote yes or no on this. And you have 2 weeks, all these committees and stuff have 2 weeks, there's your 2 weeks to get back to us if you have any interest in this.
See, that strikes me as completely reasonable.
But let's dig deeper into that. Yes, we have interest in it, so we would like to explore it for another 30 days. Do you know what I mean? You never get in 2 weeks, you know and I know, we're not going to get in 2 weeks, yes, we want it, or no, we want it. If that's the case, then I have no problem with that. So if we get a yes or no in 2 weeks, that's terrific, but then I think...
We'll get a lot of no answers.
Over 2 weeks, what I expect that you could get, in a difficult case, there'll be some simple cases where it's like unanimous one way or the other, but in a difficult case, I would expect that you'd have 1 or 2 boards saying, oh, we think you should check this parcel out further. A few boards say, oh, we got no interest, and other boards don't even respond. Now you take a look at that information, and you decide, the selectmen decide whether or not to go forward. At that point, 2 weeks and a few days after the notice of intent was deemed correct and was filed, a couple of weeks later, you guys decide, you know what, we'll look into it, or you decide, no, we won't. If you decide to look into it, then what you do and the order in which you do it is here, and it provides enough time to get the appraisal done, et cetera.
Even if a town or even if a committee says we should look into it, we don't. I mean, we could say, we don't. It's not that.
That's correct.
Your
It's
case
not
is
binding,
not compelling enough for us to go forward.
And
Because
if-
everybody's going to say, let's look into it, and then we look into it. There's another 30 days, and they're going to.
If you decide to look into it, by the way, if you say, you know what, okay, we'll look into it, that's not binding at that point. You can still later on decide you're not interested, and then you release that. So, you have the option of just turning it down a couple of weeks after the notice of intent is filed, as long as you've got, by this procedure, as long as you've got input from the other entities. And you've got the option of deciding to look into it, and then a few weeks down the road deciding, you know what, forget it.
I keep getting confused. Is it that, are we talking 2 weeks after the 30 or the 2 weeks in the first 30?
The 30 days is only the period of time that the town is obligated,
It's a valid,
if the town determines it's not valid,
They have
you've
30
got
days
30
to tell
days
them
to
that.
tell them that.
Yes.
If the town determines it is a valid notice of intent, you have
one-
120 days.
The 120 days starts,
It starts at the
You don't
same
get-
time the 30 days would start.
yeah, you don't get 30 plus 120.
Yeah, no.
So if it's valid, it starts 120
the
right
clock
away.
has already started.
exactly-
Somebody submits
Right.
December 23rd, and that starts a clock ticking. We just don't know what clock it is yet.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, it's 30 or 120.
Correct.
30 if it's bad, or 120 that if it's good. Purchase and sale and stuff.
And by the way, the other thing that could happen, which we haven't discussed, at any point during the 120 days, whoever filed the notice of intent can withdraw it without prejudice.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm actually fine either way with this. I'm fine. What I was going to offer is a somewhat of a compromise by changing paragraph 3 and saying, at its next public meeting, the Board of Selectmen shall confer, so the next public meeting, so if it comes down on the 20, whatever, I mean, if it's 3 days ago, that would mean today, shall confer with members of the planning board in open space and then vote whether to pursue further, in other words, to trigger this procedure or not. So we're required to, under this policy, speak with you in open space. And then decide, or just leave it how it is.
I don't think talking to the Board of Selectmen in open space is enough, because that would exclude the Park and Recreation Commission, the Water Department, Historical Commission, Conservation Commission, Assessor. And some of those entities are required under Mass General Law to be notified with the intent clearly in the law that they have a chance to give you feedback before you decide.
That's correct. I think there's 4 of them.
So compromise, you might say, instead of number 3 being what it is, you could say, at its next regularly scheduled public meeting, the Board of Selectmen, well, will determine that at the subsequent meeting we'll discuss it, but it seems
That's wordy.
redundant and silly.
Yeah.
It's redundant.
Yeah, I would either say what I said or take 3 out entirely. How do you guys feel?
Are we voting on this tonight?
I can.
Did you want to vote on this tonight? Do you want to table it and vote on
I
it
just-
next meeting?
If you wanted more time, though, it's
Yeah.
fine.
No, I mean, we've only got I think we should fish or cut bait. It's only a matter of a few,
Right.
one sentence and a few words.
Well, actually, I had something else to say that we can't vote on it tonight. We haven't gotten to it yet.
Well,
Go ahead.
So let's resolve this, though.
Yeah.
you have something else in this document that you
Yeah.
can't?
Yeah, I mean,
You won't be able to vote on tonight, you mean?
yes, I don't think. I mean, my other edits were, in paragraph 4, where you list the town entities, when I reviewed this versus a number of other towns, and they defined their town entities, all of the other towns included the Finance Committee, and our document did not. So I would propose to include the Finance Committee as one of the town entities. And then I had a question for you. Parks and Rec was not listed in any of them, nor was it listed in the Greenbelt list of town entities. And I was just curious, and nothing against Parks and Rec, but it was just I was looking at who you had versus who everyone else had.
I have no objection to the Finance Committee being added to this list. This list came when I reviewed the law and a bunch of documents that Richard found, and I was pulling a whole bunch of different source materials together. And so somewhere in those source materials, guidelines, model laws, et cetera, I found the Park and Rec, and that's why it's there.
Yeah, I think the law says it,
The
that
law has-
Board of
has a
Selectmen,
narrow
Planning,
word.
Board of Selectmen, Planning, Assessor, and Conservation, those are the four.
It's it, yeah. Well, I would want Park and Rec. I
Well,
think
I'm
they're
just
just as important.
identifying what the difference is, so,
Yeah,
okay.
I think they're just as
So,
important as anybody else
so
on
let-
there.
let's-
I would
Let's agree,
not take them out, no.
let's agree to add this to Finance Committee then.
I would vote on that. Want to make a motion? Make a motion that we would recommend that,
Amend line 4.
yep, to include the Finance
Second.
Committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then the last,
What else did you
the
have?
last point that I wanted to make is, there are specific steps when the selectmen decide to either waive, exercise, or assign the right of first refusal. And I think we need to kind of flush out what those are. I mean, if this is a roadmap for maybe 3 different people for 6 years from now or 8 years from now, who knows? I mean, it needs to, and you've done a great job clearly defining it. And a couple of examples of what I mean by that is, if we're waiving the right of first refusal, I think we should state that we waive our right of first refusal relative to the offer or proposal that was made. So if there's a change to the offer, that would re-trigger the process. So just to be specific back to the landowner is one thing, and then also, and this was a comment I had made before, that about the property, if we decide to exercise it, that it must be acquired within 90 days of exercising. So just to kind of, it's like the next steps after the decision's made of what needs to happen. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, I also had a question about just looking at Greenbelt's recommendations on how they handle things. And I think they had slightly bigger towns or cities in mind when there's somebody that's a point person that's going to be the driver of all these steps, and the person who checks up on whether all the boards have been informed and so forth. That's we're pretty small. I mean,
I think that would fall on,
That would fall on the Selectmen.
right.
Under this, it would fall, under this
I'm
document, it
reading
would fall
that,
under
and
the
I
Selectmen.
just
Yes,
we think that's a good idea. That's
it has to be done.
yeah.
That's in this document in response to comment. We got feedback from the initial draft, and Patricia Reeser gave us feedback. She knows the law pretty well. She went through it, and that's where we added the administrator as sort of the driving person, and that administrator is the administrator of the Board of Selectmen.
Which by law, it doesn't have to be that.
No,
Correct.
it doesn't.
No,
No, I-
but since we're kind of the driving force of everything, I think it should be out of our office.
Okay.
So, I mean, is that something we could take a look at, those kind of things?
Well, certainly. This procedure is, in a sense, your procedure.
Right.
So it can be
We'll
what
make
you
a
decide to have it. I think that Mike will confirm that if the town, through you, waives the right of first refusal, the landowner then knows what legal rights they have. They can go ahead with the purchase sale that they might have had. They can go ahead with conversion of the land. That's sort of automatic.
The
But
only
if you wanted to be more explicit about it,
The only reason I suggested it is I attended a seminar that was sponsored by Greenbelt, and there was an attorney there, and he made that recommendation.
yeah, this just says that the applicant, or the person who filed the intent is notified that the town waives the right. If you wanted to provide guidance to the applicant at that point with some language,
Okay.
I don't have any objection to that, and it really doesn't matter if I object or not. Again, this is your procedure.
Well,
They're asking us to change our procedure. That's what they're asking us to do. Joe, you want to put those in and give them a copy? You want to give us a copy?
Mr. McCarron has a comment.
Mike? Sorry.
You still have to decide on your proposed line 3, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, this doesn't have to be in the proposal. I mean, the policy at all, but you do have the consideration of how you're gonna pay for it.
That's why I thought it would be a good idea to include the finance committee.
Yes, well, exactly, but the thing is that since these things can take place at any time, they probably won't conveniently take place, you know,
sure.
at the right time. It would be a special town meeting. And in addition, it would, there might likely be a circumstance where CPC funds would want to be used for it. And so, you don't have to have this as a policy, but basically, I think you have to have that from the beginning, even deciding whether to buy it. You have to know what your process, what your time frame is going to be
Because of the process.
to get it ready.
Yep.
I mean, we've done that in the past.
Yep.
I think, was it all us three that said, hey, if you're gonna be interested in something, come back and show us your interest and
Yeah.
show us how you're gonna finance it.
Yes, I
Don't come
remember that.
back to us with just, hey, we're interested, and then, you know,
Right,
don't bring anything to the table.
right.
So I wouldn't mind, I don't know, maybe making that part of it also. I like the way that that was an excellent thing, Joe, about putting the finance committee part of it.
So, back to paragraph 3. How do you guys feel?
The Board of Selectmen will set an agenda item at their next available meeting that will still allow the town entities a reasonable opportunity to prepare recommendations, and the town entities will be notified of the time and date of this meeting. Okay, so town entities not providing feedback to the Board of Selectmen will assume, okay, that last sentence is simple. Okay, because we all understand what that means. Okay, the Board of Selectmen will set an agenda item at the next available meeting that will still allow the town entities a reasonable opportunity to prepare recommendations.
Why can't we?
Yeah,
we
see,
actually
that's
put
kinda
in-
so
why can't we actually define reasonable as not like an hour and a half, greater than an hour and a half?
You could say no less than,
Yeah.
no less than 14 days, for example.
Yeah. why-
Or something
why not
like that.
Actually give us.
You could do that.
Yeah.
Well, and we can do that by saying, so, to your point being, so if something came in on a Thursday, we would then schedule it at our next available meeting, the Board of Selectmen, to then send it out to the committees. Do you know what I mean by that? But we could lose
No,
days.
No, but you could-
We don't have to have a meeting to send it out. It goes out automatically.
If it's the proper form.
The administrator could send it out automatically, so you could assume that the town, if you came in on a Thursday, you could assume the entities are formed on a Monday.
And that 14 days, you kind of have that reasonableness to decide.
So would that be,
Right
would
now.
that be good for you guys?
What's that? Say it again.
That they would have to get back to us after they're notified. Not after their meeting, after they're notified
The town entities would have to get back to us in 14
in
days.
14 days, after they're notified,
Uh,
not after a meeting, because they could, if they were that interested in it, they could hold a meeting after we're notified 48 hours
Sure.
after that.
Yeah, I like that.
So that means then, and just say it wasn't 48 hours, so if they were notified on a Monday, just hypothetically, so let's try to be reasonable. If they were notified on a Monday, they probably would have a meeting maybe that Thursday or Friday.
Or the following Monday.
Yeah, but then there's 7 days. So there's 7 days they haven't even discussed it, but they could even get the material by then too, if they were that interested in it. It doesn't mean that they're not knowledgeable about it. They could have all the material sent to them on that Monday. The committee could have everything to look at and talk about.
Yep.
Then they have a meeting to discuss it, and then they still have 7 days they have to notify us. And if they thought it would be that imperative, that it would be something that they want to get, they could even hold a couple meetings before we had our next meeting. So they would have to notify the Board of Selectmen within 14 days after being notified by us.
Or they could just come to that
Next meeting.
next meeting.
Yep.
And we could have that on the agenda.
Yep.
Yeah, but we have to, I'm trying to work
I might-
through a deadline.
Here, I might see,
14 days.
Yeah, I'm trying to work through the deadline. They could come in the next day and tell us, yeah, we're interested.
Yeah.
I
This
could,
has been something on our radar.
14 days is fine.
I could suggest that what's currently on your paper is line item 7. You could say, we'll set an agenda item at the next available meeting that will allow no less than 14 days for the town entities to respond, something
No
like
less or
that.
no more.
That you're promising to give them at least 14 days,
Oh,
is the way I worded it.
yeah,
I
but
think
not,
that's reasonable,
but
yeah.
not 28 days.
Mike?
That's fine for the 120 days, but
For the 30,
30 days,
you can,
it's,
it's not fine.
yeah.
But the 30 days is just to decide whether or not the notice of intent is valid.
No. If you
No,
get the
not on
notice
the other
to
one. To convert. If they want to convert it, take it off the tax roll, they don't have a purchase and sale, they only have to give us 30 days, correct?
Well,
I don't think that's correct.
we have 30 days to get an appraisal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't have the right.
I'm looking at the law here as
Okay,
well, and,
Why don't you read it to me then?
yeah, line 54.
Mike, you going to get it?
Line 54 of Appendix A. Um,
In the case of intended or determined conversion not involving sale, the municipality shall have an option to purchase the land at full and fair market value to be determined by an impartial appraisal performed by a certified appraiser hired at the expense of the municipality or its assignee. The original appraisal to be completed and delivered to the landowner within 30 days of the notice of conveyance. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he's right.
So
He's right.
we'd have,
Yeah, so
we have theoretically
that wouldn't work.
14 plus 2 or 3 days in a weird situation, so you could have like 17 days, and now we've got 13 days to get an appraisal done. That
It
wouldn't
does
work.
kind of need to be
It
at our
wouldn't
next
work.
meeting.
Hey, what about,
This is-
okay, what about keeping line 7 and saying that the selectmen will, I mean, this is pretty ambiguous. The selectmen will try to do that when they can. You know what I mean? You know, we will.
Instead of 14 days, make it 7.
But you still wouldn't have enough time to get an appraisal and to make the proper.
That gives you 21 days.
Yeah, but then have the proper deliberation on that. Yeah, you're right, Mike. We read it. Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, so we understand, okay.
Seven give, if you, I mean, that does give us 21 days.
Yeah, but I think we're defeating the whole purpose.
Well,
Because you're going to get back, rush to judgment type of situations that people have and say, yes, we are, because because they want their leg in the door. And
Well, there's still a.
So somebody's going to get back to us, okay, within 7 days and say, we are interested because of these factors. So you need to spend $10,000 for an appraisal. So are they going to, I mean, how intense are they going to come back and give us a good comprehensive report?
Well, then
We
we've
have
got to
30
make
days.
it.
Then we make our determination. That's where we have our
Right.
determination, say, okay, you know, I understand that you're interested in it, but it's not compelling enough,
Right.
and we're not interested.
I think if it was compelling enough, that town entity would also be at your meeting to further back up and support, I think, their desire to look at it.
Well, it could be the next meeting. I mean, see, what happens, okay, we could get to 14 days if we don't have a regular scheduled meeting. So hypothetically, if somebody gave us one tomorrow, okay, our next scheduled meeting is in 14 days,
It's the 28th, right?
right? But we're giving them 7 days.
So we'd have it before our meeting.
Yeah, but we still have the 14 days, and we don't have the time enough to get appraisal done. So if they're interested in it that much, 7 days, then we should probably have a meeting, schedule a selectmen's meeting. If we're nervous about the 14 days, then we would have, you know what I mean, that it kind
So
of,
we should have an unscheduled meeting, is what you're saying?
yeah, we would have
should
to have
schedule a
that,
meeting.
because if something came in tomorrow, those people have the 14 days.
All right, that's true.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't, they could get back to us in 7 days, but then we don't have a scheduled meeting till the 28th, and then we say yes to it, let's
Yep.
get an appraisal, and then we're jammed in on our appraisal time, and we can't do our due
Then
diligence.
we should schedule a meeting, and, it's the chairperson at the time should do that.
Oh, my God.
There are situations where if something came in and the timing was bad, I can see where town entities would be scheduling previously unscheduled
meant that much to
meetings.
us.
Oh, they would have to.
And then, in the
no
worst case scenario, then it would come back to you guys who now have to schedule something you didn't plan to schedule for a
See, I'm trying to
meeting.
be realistic.
It's the 30 days in the law that's the problem.
Oh, yeah,
I understand.
absolutely.
Exactly. So that's what I think goes back to Archie's point, and I think with Joe's point, the more people you get involved in it, that the longer it's going to take. And maybe we should we were elected for a reason, and sometimes people have to have faith in their selectmen that they're going to make the right decision.
Understood,
by that?
but it's clearly the intent of the law to get feedback. If you give them 7 days and they don't get their act together, it can't slow down the process because they just didn't get their act together.
Okay.
So
I don't
it
mind-
it
I don't mind
guarantees
7 days, but I personally believe that's unreasonable for the committees. Because theoretically, they came in tomorrow.
You're
you have-
right, but
you have
that's-
48 hours that you can't do anything about, because you have to schedule a meeting.
At least,
Fine with me.
no, Glenn, but I can picture, okay, we couldn't get a meeting, but we'll call our committee to show up at the selectmen's meeting in 7 days.
Right, they
and-
could do
and
that.
we'll make our voice heard at that point. That would be one way to get around it. Okay, we might not even have a quorum of our members, but we'll have 3 of them there at
But
the
if we're
selectmen's meeting.
going to change this, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're the only ones sitting here, that it's 7 days,
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
not 8 days.
No, so.
It's not 8 days,
so-
no matter how much they come and beg, and no matter, it's like, remember how town warrants are?
Yep.
We set a deadline, and then obviously there's a billion reasons why we should extend them, or can you put a placeholder in for me, blah, 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 blah. So if it's 7 days, it's 7 days. So if it's 7 days, if they don't have to come back to a meeting to us, they have to, but see, it's a bunch of whatever. Because if something halfway decent, everybody's gonna say, yeah, we have an interest in it. We wanna discuss this at your next meeting.
But isn't the 30-day thing that I'm confused, isn't the one that you're talking about is if people are not gonna sell their property and they're just taking the property out of?
Convert.
Convert.
So then
Yep.
I don't understand why the other people would be weighing in on it, because you don't have the right to buy it from them, do you? Or do you? They do, so that's.
Yeah,
what
we
I'm
do.
talking
We
about.
have the
You
right to buy them.
I get it, yeah, okay.
Because because they've gotten a tax break,
Right.
we get the right of first refusal
confused.
both ways.
Yeah, both ways, yeah.
Both ways.
Okay, thank you.
So that person says,
I wanna take it out, but you could say no.
I want to take it out, and we could say, okay.
That's the chance
And,
we've been
they
waiting
might
for
want to
to
build a
buy.
house for themselves
Got
on
it,
there, or a
yeah.
condo on it, but we say no because you've,
We're gonna have it for water, yeah.
yeah, or anything, we want it for a field. And then we would have to go get a best and
Right,
highest
got it,
use
yeah.
appraisal on it, and we say, okay, it's worth 4.2 million, or it's worth $100,000, and that's what we're gonna offer you.
You know,
Okay.
7 days is rushed, and you might not get the kind of quality feedback we all hope that you would get from every town entity. But at least you're codifying it in a procedure that everybody gets the chance to give you some
It's
feedback.
a little bit better, I guess, than what we had before.
Yeah.
And then you still have 3
that's good.
weeks to have them give you more feedback if you need it.
Oh, yeah, I'm
right?
sure that won't be
I mean,
the end of their
No,
feedback.
not really, because we have to at some time make a
but you
decision,
can
because
dec-
we
but
would
you
have
can
to get an
decide, let's get
appraisal.
It's enough to get an appraisal.
Yeah. if
But
they-
you don't have, but getting an appraisal doesn't mean you're necessarily gonna go forward and buy it.
No, but
Right.
I would agree with that, but it's still spending $10,000.
Right.
Gonna just
Right.
spend a lot of.
That
appraisal
could
here
come
and
up,
there,
the
random.
way lots are going on sale now in
But you're
town,
not
this
gonna get
spring,
as
we
much
could,
as
we
you
could
want
spend
to Ray's
60
point.
grand.
You're not gonna get as much as you want under the way the law is written now, because you only have 30 days.
Say that question again?
No matter what happens, Glenn, it's still 30 days,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, even.
I know, but I'm just trying to,
Even if everybody was on board with it from day one, every single committee, board, including the selectmen, thinks it's a great idea, we should get this, it's still, we'd have to, everyone say, yeah, we agree with that. It's gonna
Okay.
take a few days, so it's a few days subtracted from 30, no matter what we do.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
Okay.
because I just believe 7 days is too quick, and if anybody has any, you're gonna find ancillary interest and you're just gonna say, yeah, we have an interest in it, and okay, come to our meeting next week. Whatever.
You're right.
I mean, it's
But
just.
there's no
I mean,
choice, though.
Huh?
I don't, you're right, but I don't think there's a choice.
You know, there's a choice, just keep number 3 in.
Oh,
If I
Keep
could
number
just,
3, keep number 3 in, and if we hear from people, you know, if we hear, like we've done before, like Tricia, people have come to us before, and the water department and stuff like that, and, I mean, more often than not, this board has asked everybody, I would say. More often than not, we've done number 7. I would think only a couple of times recently, we've said, you know,
right.
This-
we own enough land, you know, it's really not important to us,
It was-
and I think that quite honestly has ruffled some feathers, and people haven't had the feedback that they think they want to have, and that's, so, which is
This-
fine.
This procedure, if you give the 7 days, it gives people a chance. Also, it complies with the intent of the law, which is to notify the people and then make sure that they get a chance to respond to you. The way the procedure's set up right now is, I'm not aware of any written procedure that you have right now with right of first refusal.
There isn't one.
So this would go a long way to just laying everything out for everybody to see, more transparency, and it's all together in one place.
Oh, it's a roadmap.
Got it. You want to add what you want to add to it, and then we'll have it all in one
Well,
piece of paper,
I
and then
just
we'll
said-
vote on it on, we'll change it on the 28th.
Yeah, I mean, what I had said, just so
Is that fine
everyone,
with you, so we have it all on one piece of paper? Or you want to vote on it with his amendments tonight?
well, I think I'd like to have the further next steps at the end. I mean, I don't know if you guys
Okay.
want to look at it, or, I mean, I can look at it.
They don't
or
have to- I mean-
Mike can look at it.
You had no objections with what he said. I mean, you have in the document what you guys feel that should be in the document. So if you want to add something, it is our document, it is our procedure, let's add it.
That's fine.
And
So,
Michael can look at it.
number 3, I had said, at its next public meeting, the Board of Selectmen shall confer with members of the planning board in open space, and then vote whether to pursue further. That's what I had said as one option.
I would,
I don't
I
agree
would
with that.
recommend that you strike 3 and modify what's currently listed as 7.
What were you saying?
I think that's too limited.
Yeah,
I think,
that's,
I think,
we don't.
So
I-
what
I think-
what were you
Joe,
saying?
There's already four boards that have to be notified, or five, whatever, that have to be notified by the Mass General law. So let's not narrow it down.
More.
Fine.
They-
So what were you
I have
saying?
no problem with, I have no problem with the boards that they recommended here and adding their number 4, and adding the FinCom. Those are the boards we should, if we're going to,
So
in
add
some way, I believe in some way we should notify these people. And I think we should notify these people in some way before we make a vote. Because
Well, I
obviously,
mean-
before we make a vote, we should have all the information that we possibly can to make an
So-
educated vote.
No matter what we do, some board is gonna
Okay,
say, well.
so this
okay,
is a more
Why didn't
formal-
you tell us? So let's
Yeah,
be
and-
inclusive.
So, in most, 90% of the time, we've said, hey, Chris, can you talk to the water department? Can you talk, you know, we've done this a billion times. And there's some people have gotten back to us, some people haven't, and then we've made a decision. A few times, we've just made it up on our own. We've looked at it, talked about it, and said no. So
All right.
I have no problem with the people that are involved. I wouldn't limit it to that. Add the FinCom, that's my personal opinion. And then we just have to put a timetable, because I don't like, if we're gonna change everything to make it a good procedure, I don't like ambiguous stuff.
Reasonable is unreasonable.
So,
Exactly. I don't-
so
So
let's-
strike 3 and add 7 days to 7.
Yes, I agree. So
Yeah.
take out 3, and then number 7, the last sentence of number 7, town entities not providing feedback within 7 days or at the Board of Selectmen's meeting.
Within 7 days of being notified.
With 7 days of notification.
It doesn't have to be at a selectmen's meeting. I don't want it to be at a selectmen's meeting. If
So-
it happens to fall within a selectmen's meeting, that's fine. If they're notified on a Tuesday, in 7 business days. Is it, when we say,
Five business days.
when we say, oh, so 5 business days?
Yeah, because you
We're
got
talking about a week.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, excuse me for 1 second. When those 30 days, when we get on a calendar, is that business days? Or
Calendar.
does that include
Calendar days.
calendar days? Okay, thank you.
So
No,
within
it's-
7
it's-
days,
It's
Seven
7
calendar
regular
days.
days.
I know, but you know
yeah.
how every time we have to post something, you can't include, when we post something,
Yeah.
you can't include, holidays, it can't include Sundays, it can't include you know what I mean? So I just want to make sure.
And those boards that are gonna be notified when you're notified, do they have 7 days from the time that they're notified?
Yes.
yes.
Because that's different than the rest of the boards and committees you're notifying. The assessors will get notified automatically under state law, right?
Yes.
Correct.
They'll all get notified at the same time.
Planning board will get notified when selectmen get notified.
Yes.
Correct.
Because they are all CC'd on that notice of intent. But you're
Correct.
talking about the Park and Rec has 7 days from the time you guys.
Yes.
So
But it's the same thing. The day we get notified, Chris is going to send out all notifications to everybody else.
No, Mike is going to look at it to see if it's the proper form, or I don't know what the right word is, or,
Still, I'd still say send out the notification.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
send it, there's no harm, there's no
So
harm
that
in
everybody has
sending
it
them
at the
out,
same
yeah.
time.
Yeah, because the 30-day one, that's not the purchase and sale.
That clock starts ticking.
Yeah, the other one is the purchase and sale with the contingencies and special permits they have to get. That's not a real, that's make-believe purchase and sale.
I mean, the notice to convert can also be insufficient too. You have 30 days to say that notice
That's
was
not-
wrong.
So
You're
you
supposed to
think,
include certain things in that notice. If they forget to do something, it's kind of a technicality, but they say, under the law, it says you have to include these things with your notice to convert.
We have 30 days to get back to them that it's a proper notice to convert, and 30 days to get back to them with
Oh,
a,
no, I mean, the 30 days run
Parallel.
contemporaneously, but if their notice is insufficient, and you write them back, say, hey, this notice is insufficient, you didn't give us an assessor's map to scale.
I understand, then they have to do it again.
you could,
Or they
there could be a,
fight and say, yes, it was, and,
there could be a situation where you get something in, everybody gets notified, and 10 days later, Mike is like, you know what, that wasn't a valid,
no, it's
And then- and-
happened before.
just scrap and
We've had
and
these
start over.
conversations before.
okay.
About a couple of parcels down in, somewhere, that it was a make-believe one, because it had so many special permits and that involved in it, that it wasn't the proper one. Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
We agree.
the 7 days. So, Chris,
What if somebody walks in to deliver
That's the same thing,
same thing.
the beds at 4:30?
7 days. That's that day at 4:30.
At 4:30, you put in a
Day
little
they walk
overtime
in.
and make sure that everybody gets it.
But if they walk in at 4:32, you're gone.
But see, that's a procedural thing.
It's closed.
Well, that's a procedural thing. That's a procedural thing that you and us will work out as an office thing. How to notify people, like Park and Rec. I don't believe notifying Park and Rec is putting something in their mailbox. In theory, that is, but nobody would, nobody would notice it for 5 days probably, you know what I mean? So I personally believe, so that would be something we need to do administratively to make sure that everybody gets notified properly, you know what I mean?
You could ask each group how they want to be notified, or what email address to use, and then you're.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, because yeah, that's something we need to
Unless they
take care
want
of.
it like carved on a piece of wood or
Okay.
Or on a piece of paper and put on a tree.
I've seen that work.
Good luck. Okay. Can we do, I think we all understand, you feel comfortable? Can we just have it all down on the paper, on one piece of paper?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we'll just vote it on the
Yeah,
28th?
yeah.
Does that sound all right?
So we agree with what we just,
We all agree, he's gonna add that other stuff in there, and does that sound good?
Just for the record, I appreciate your inviting us in to get our input on this, and I'm
Okay.
glad that you're moving forward.
No,
Well,
I'm
you did a
glad,
great
I'm
job.
glad we did this because, no, this is a lot of work and it needed to be done. And it, but thank you, because I just won $5 from Joe. Because he said this was gonna be quick.
you
Remember?
said it was going to be quick.
No, I said it wasn't gonna be quick.
You know, quick is ambiguous. Can we define quick? It's 7 minutes, 7 minutes.
reasonable.
I thought, Mike? Thank you.
Sorry, Mike.
Oh, no problem.
Fire
Just a
Chief
little
Mike
over.
Dwyer,
Just a little over.
we have a fire department grant.
Yeah, a couple things I wanted to discuss with you guys tonight. One is the air pack grant that we applied for last year. The federal FEMA gave out their final awards. We did not make the cut.
Oh.
I did a little digging on this, and Mike Bertino and I had a good meeting the other day about this. Couple of issues. One is throughout the state, well, it's a federal grant, but as far as the state is concerned, 287 municipalities applied for this grant, for anywhere from station, fire apparatus, or safety equipment. And that's what we applied for safety equipment. Out of that 287 applicants, 67 were awarded, so 23%.
Kind of low.
Yeah. A pretty, you know, it's a pretty tough grant. I spoke with the program specialist out of Boston, wanted to ask him some questions about the application that we submitted in and where, you know, we could improve upon that. A couple of issues that were brought up was the big thing was our financial need. We hit high marks on the whole grant, except for our financial need, because we're a well-maintained, well-managed town. In sitting down talking with Michael, we came to the determination that
We have to start cooking our books? Running two?
we need to take a look at what we're actually applying for and maybe back off a little bit. The grant that we applied for last year was for 28 air packs, and they're right around 5,000 a unit. Some additional rescue tools and a self-contained air refill system for the station, which the system we have right now is old and in need of replacement. But I think we bit off a little bit more than we could chew on the grant. So talking with Michael, we decided that we're going to scale back if I can have the board's permission to reapply for this. We will go in for the air packs minus the air refill system. So that's going to be less 58K.
What's the cycle on that? When is that application due, and when do we become aware of the
The
award?
grant just opened up, and it needs to be submitted in no later than, I believe, the 15th of January.
Are we getting to the, are we getting closer and closer to the end of the useful life?
We
Of
are.
our, so what happens, should we be planning, Plan B in case this
A town meeting.
second grant
Agreed.
doesn't work?
I agree.
So when do we find out if we would get that?
Well, the big thing with the federal grants, especially with FEMA, is if there are any catastrophic events that occur during the application period or during the review cycle, they begin to push it off. So if there's a hurricane or
Money gets
blizzards,
funneled to that, yeah.
yeah, things get delayed a little bit. But generally, it's usually about 4 months out that they start doing awards, and they do them every Friday throughout the whole cycle.
So suppose we put it on the town meeting for the spring, appropriated the money, and then you say we're awarded the grant in June. Would that disqualify us from getting the grant because we had already appropriated the funds, or not?
Well, part of the financial need portion of our grant, they had mentioned that, are we looking for any other means of funding for this program? And the hard part about these units are every year they change some sort of regulation or safety feature to these units.
And
So
then
it's
the
not,
previous year becomes obsolete.
well,
You're
not so much obsolete, but it makes it difficult for somebody in a hazardous situation to be able to say, my pack's no longer working. I have a rescuer coming in with an additional pack, and I need to be able to use it without being able to see anything. So we've always kind of shied away from, you know, buying a few this year and a few next year and a few year after that. But I think,
Oh, okay.
but
Do you, if we don't get this grant, to go to Archie's point, can we put it on, would it be all right to put it on fall town
I
meeting
think
then?
the fall would be appropriate.
And it wouldn't, you know, cut into any safety issues?
No, no.
Okay, I feel good with you.
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
And again, that's why we,
And we would support that, obviously. I mean,
okay, great.
and we would, with the finance committee, I mean, you would show that we try to get alternate funding, and it's just,
Yep.
we've gotten in the past, and they're just not giving it. I mean, we've had that problem, like with our two-step method with the school and everything like that.
Yeah,
We have, because our housing values and
right.
our income is high, you don't,
Yeah.
you know, you have to pay more sometimes.
Yeah.
It's about your ability to pay. And our
Right.
ability to pay, they say, is higher than most, so we don't get a lot of things.
And that's one of the reasons why myself and the board agreed to hold off on the rescue replacement, was because if the rescue stops working tomorrow, we have other apparatus we could utilize in the meantime. It's more important for me as the chief to make sure my men and women have the proper safety equipment, and this is number one on that. Personal protective gear, the coats and boots and hats and whatnot, those are going to be due, I believe, 2017. So again, that's kind of our focus right now, is to look at replacing those items.
On our capital improvements, where does that rescue sit?
We've been pushing it off year after year after year. Right now, I think it's 3 years out.
Out of 10 calls, 8 are rescue?
That's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to seriously start thinking about a rescue vehicle than a fire truck in the near future, because that
Oh, yeah.
gets more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I think right now, I mean, our apparatus, we're status quo with our equipment.
Okay.
And like I said, if that stopped working tomorrow, we're still going to function just fine with another piece of equipment.
Okay. What else?
That's not a problem. I've had some great conversations with the Department of Fire Services and the Deputy State Fire Marshal about a possible partnership with the West Newbury Fire Department. They currently provide us, the Department of Fire Services provide us with a lot of services that help with training, fire investigations, and fire education and certification.
That's a state agency?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Okay.
They currently purchased a rehab unit, which is almost like a glorified RV for the county, for Essex County. And in some discussions I've been having with members of the Department of Fire Services, there are very limited locations that this unit can be housed. I invited them into West Newbury to show them our station, give them a quick tour, and they brought the rehab unit down, and we can actually house it at our station. Why this is interesting for me is this is a unit that we can get to respond to any number of our emergencies free of charge. It's provided by the state. They provide us with an operator and any type of support we would need to drive this unit to a scene. So if we had a fire or a large-scale event.
Can you define rehab unit for
Sure.
everybody, please, so everybody understands, because I don't think we do.
Yeah, it's what's referred to as rehabilitation, where it is providing us with warmth, cold, air conditioning, drinks, food, blankets. It's providing the first responders with the necessary environmental support during
So
the
if you're fighting a big fight, if you've ever gone to a funeral where there's a person that, obviously a firefighter, generally, they generally have one there on location when people, go in and they
Yeah.
come out. I saw one over in Merrimack, I think.
yeah.
But so if it's a huge fire, it's almost like you need to take a break, because then the next
So
shift.
if it's 10 degrees out.
Yeah, the next
Right.
shift
Yeah.
goes
You need
to
a cup of
fight it.
coffee, or you need water, or
Okay.
you need just
When
a
he
place
did-
to cool down.
It would be a very useful thing to have if there was a fire on River Road and it was snowing and 10 degrees outside.
Yeah, we had a rehab unit there. And there's actually, there's two things. One is we have a nonprofit rehab unit that's out of, I believe, Peabody. That's really good for an initial response to emergencies. But what this unit would provide us with is long-term support for first responders during the scene of a major incident. What we could do is we have the opportunity to house this in West Newbury, and that would provide us with a quicker response to our community if we needed it. Could provide me with electing certain qualified members of the fire department to work as a contractor for the state to operate this unit out of West Newbury. It would be housed here, but it would respond to basically a geographic response area, which would be the county, and then it could be anywhere in the state if there were
You had a big mill fire in Lawrence. This thing would,
I already thought of that.
this thing would go,
Yeah.
and 3 or 4 of our guys or women would go, being paid by the state to be able to have this taken care of.
Great idea.
Yep,
Okay, now,
Any
Without- I'm not
cost
gonna
to the-
question-
Cost to the town,
Yeah.
or?
that's, and that's a great question, and was that what you're gonna bring up, Mr. Chairman? Okay. The big thing about that is any type of service connections, maintenance, fuel, any cost associated with this, the state owns. I'm babysitting it.
do we get any rent?
I knew you were gonna ask that question.
I wasn't, I
And
just,
that's a good que-
that wasn't
and
my
you know what?
question still, but,
That's a great question. But my feeling is, we can utilize this to get some training for our fire
oh no,
staff.
I think it's plus plus.
Yeah,
But my initial question was, I've seen that station when it has everything in it.
Mhm.
And I've walked that station, me not being, I think I could fit into spaces I really can't.
you can get around.
Yeah, but I have a hard time walking around there.
You know-
Where are we gonna put it?
It fits fine.
Now, are we gonna transfer stuff down to Garden Street, or?
No, this isn't gonna change the way we operate out of Central Station at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
A few people, including my number 1 and number 2, didn't believe it would fit in there, but it actually fits in great. I was surprised at first,
Okay.
because
well,
it
I
can be
trust
tight
you,
in
but-
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I need you to come organize my attic.
No, you don't want me to do that. You should see mine.
Okay, okay. You have
But
any
again,
questions?
Now we're good.
I think it would be a great opportunity for us.
Terrific.
There's going to be some documentation that I was given their chief legal counsel's information to forward to Mike, if I
Sure.
could have your
You have any
permission to do
problems
that.
with this?
well, is there any, besides cost issues, are there any?
Do we have to insure it,
are there any
liability?
Legal problems in?
Yeah,
in
that-
liability issues?
If
that
we,
might-
if
That
our
would be
guy
for the
hits,
two of
if
them.
somebody comes out and they hit somebody by accident, oh,
That
it's
would
always
all
in there.
have to be ironed out. And the operators of this, obviously, we would set up policies as to how it is handled through our own internal mechanism. But as far as that is concerned, the operators would be certified through the state to operate this. So,
Where is it now?
it's probably in Stowe.
Stowe is where the fire
Where
academy,
the-
where
yeah.
that, it all is. The fire academy is.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so would you like us to give Mike D and Mike M, just the authority to iron out all the legal stuff and it doesn't come back to us, as long as Mike is happy that we're indemnified from any stuff,
fine.
and Mike D is happy, obviously, that it's all, or does it have to come back?
Fine with me.
No, it doesn't have to come back.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you so much.
We
We meet
actually-
for anything.
We have,
actually-
we have a couple of questions.
We actually had one thing for you.
Sure.
Maybe 2. One
what-
would like you to respond to, 2 you don't have to.
Whetstone
not
Street
prepared.
parking. We had a prior conversation about, what's the turning radius required. I think, in our opinion, it's a public safety, and your apparatus is the biggest public safety apparatus we have. And I think people have varying opinions on what the no parking should be.
Sure.
So, at first, my reaction was this isn't necessary, but I think maybe it is. If we could take that and actually park 2 vehicles and make the turn and see what the turning radius actually is. Park 2 vehicles.
Oh, you want to do some testing down there?
Yes.
That'd be-
Like
sure,
park 2
absolutely.
vehicles 50 feet in each direction, see if it can turn. If it can't, move them back to 75, whatever.
Brand new Mercedes, and if you scratch them,
I won't be driving. You can count on that.
So is that something we could do on the weekend so we could see it?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
I've raised a few concerns with this in the past, and the fire department, police department, we're used to situations where we have to think on our feet. What's Gary's take on that down there? Because, I mean, to me, his concern is pushing snow, and that can be a challenge. I know when we were discussing the Sullivan's Court project.
We'll deal with that.
Okay.
We'd prefer you just,
Yeah. But I'm more than happy to bring a piece of equipment down
Well,
and
My concern,
park his
frankly, is
van
the
there.
residents park on the park and they prevent you from being able to turn the
Yeah.
corner.
okay, we'll work that out with Chris.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Maybe on Sunday. This is the other one, and you don't have to respond. We're going to be we had on our agenda safety at the schools. We're very concerned about the ability of people to get into the school, the unsecuredness of the middle school and the high school. And we're going to ask the chief to try to document this for us and discuss this at a later time, at our next meeting. Is there any input? Because I know you work days down there, and it's
Yeah.
a constant battle to secure those schools.
Well, what I've noticed, even on I mean, I can talk about this from the fire standpoint.
Okay.
Obviously, Chief Holmes should be the one to answer for the
Okay.
PD. I'm more than happy to provide feedback if she wants.
I understand.
But as far as the fire department is concerned, we've been doing a lot of drilling with the schools and unique training at the schools. And it appears the hardware at the high school is the worst. So
Can you
those
define
doors,
that for
I
us?
mean, just the hardware on the doors, the door mechanisms that
Mhm.
are used for securing those in place. The Page School, we haven't had any issues as far as doors. And if there are issues, they're because of staff members with keys just leaving them unsecured.
Mhm.
Same goes with the middle school, but I think the high school is the area that we need to focus on.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Finance Committee and Finance Director FY 2017 budget. Sorry, guys. We're a little late. You guys coming up? What do you want to do? Who's coming up? 1, 2, 3? Okay. There you go. You already have that seat warmed up. Why give it up? And if you could speak into the microphone.
Yeah.
Okay, so Joe, you have already have your paper already up and ready.
Sure. I mean, I had a bunch of things I just kind of wanted to air out to
Sure.
start a conversation, so let me just kind of go through them. As we look at the budget, are there areas of savings? And I know we do this every single year, so I'm sure you'll do it again this year, but just because we've always done it in the past doesn't necessarily mean we have to. That's a good reason to continue. Second thing is, I think this year, I mean, I was happy with the budget process that the percent of increase that the budget was as it related to the tax increase, I thought was reasonable. And just to kind of set a number, and I don't know, this is just my thoughts, and you guys all should weigh in too, but I thought where we were at this year from a total standpoint was not a bad place. So I'd look to either stay there or less in terms of increase. I mean,
Percent or dollar
per
figure?
percent.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
One thing that, and this is something that needs a lot of discussion, so I'm just kind of throwing it out there. But in our interview process for the police chief, more than one person talked about reserve officers, so that might be something we want to talk about. And I'm kind of saying that a little prematurely, but is that something we want to consider?
Adding a police officer.
A full-time police officer, so we have less dependent on reserve officers. Another thing, our employee wages. Are they competitive? Are they over-competitive? Are they under-competitive? Or are they where they should be?
Don't ask the employees, because they're going to tell you that they're under.
Well, no.
I understand.
I mean, I would ask Mike, because I know Mike's.
Yeah, but we would do some comps. When's the last time we've done comps?
They're out all the time. I think we have to look at the whole picture in looking at that.
Yeah, I'd be curious, take very comparable positions, like, I'll just take finance director, that's a very comparable position, so, you know, where are we, and then, you know, up and down the line on, there's some positions we have that maybe aren't as comparable, but.
DPW director is very comparable.
Exactly.
Assessor is very comparable.
Exactly,
Police chief is very comparable.
yep, well, I think we know the answer to that one, but
Mhm.
yes.
Yes and no. When you look at it, you have to look at it, you know, the true way, which a lot of people don't. So you have to look at it at, you know, everything about
Compensation.
compensation.
You mean
everything. From-
insurance
from
to
insurance,
vehicle
from
to,
discretion, and from not all of it's around compensation. It's about the whole package when you compare us to other people. Sometimes you can spend 10 grand and go out and have somebody do it, but it's really just a waste of 10 grand.
I would agree with that.
With a little bit of work yourself, you could say, where do we want to be as a community? And
Right.
where are we now?
I think, yeah, I think we need to be competitive, because we don't want to create turnover by being less than competitive. I mean, that was my main concern to drive the question.
And that was one of the things that Mike stood up and told us, hey, listen, you have good employees, you want to keep them, it costs a lot
Absolutely.
more
Yep.
when you don't retain them, and that's the reason why we went from 60% to 40% last year. That was one of the big driving forces. That,
Yeah, and there's other things. One of the things I'm gonna put, after we hear everybody tonight, I'll put together a memo and a little budget package to hand out to the departments. We're having a meeting on Thursday, and some of the things that I'll put in there is, you know, besides wages, what are other ways we can, you know, reward employees? Because it, you know, money is important, but it's not the only thing.
Mhm.
And I'll try to, you know, shake the tree to see what ideas we
Okay.
can come up with and try to formulate them and present them.
is that it, Joe?
No.
Okay.
I'd like to
Moving it.
see more value added from the Capital Improvements Committee. This is a example of a report from another town. This is their annual capital improvements report, and as you can, you know, it's very comprehensive. And you know, I heard a comment that we were going to get a verbal report this year. I just, you know, those are two extremes, and I just would like to see a better vetting of a long-term capital plan.
Well, how do you want to address that? Because that's not these guys. That's
No,
us.
no, it's not. No, I'm
Fine,
talking
no, no.
about finance budgeting and.
Okay, so
No,
let's
it's not.
let's put that on a burner, so then we can discuss that and send it out to the appropriate people. Okay,
Yep.
next?
Free cash and the, let me back up. School stabilization funding schedule. I mean, we talked about that this year. We created the special stabilization fund with the idea in mind to help to fund the high school. If it's okay with you, I'd like to kind of spend some time with Mike and kind of actually put on paper like a 5-year plan, how that could look like, with the objective of, at the end, we can fund our high school payment.
Sure,
A draft
yeah.
for us, so we have
This is
something, so we have
right?
something on
Yeah,
paper
Yeah,
to
yeah,
look
no.
at.
What's that?
Did you want to be part of it, or?
No, because we also want to, I'd rather be a part of we want to also see if we can set up another.
For the, that was the
fund
next thing I
for
was
the-
going to
For the
say.
pension, yeah. So
That was the next thing I said. So
I'll deal with that.
with our free cash, I mean,
Okay,
we
hold on,
can,
so you're going to take care of that?
I'll do that, yes.
Good.
Next item, I mean, our free cash continues to be at a fairly high rate, but at the same time, we've got a fairly significant unfunded pension liability. I mean, we talked about this in the past, so let's figure out a strategy for that. And the last thing, I don't know if we need to talk about this tonight, but at some point when we're together, we should talk about what's our budget, our schedule, town meeting schedule. I mean, it's the last Monday, but then, so what are our due dates?
We always set the schedule. Why don't you give us a recommendation on the schedule? We're always the ones setting it.
Well,
right?
there's certain benchmarks, though,
Yeah,
like.
but
we
let's
ha-
work together on that. You want Mike and I to work together, and he can talk to the finance committee, then we can come back with the schedule when? Our next meeting or the meeting after, the first meeting in January?
Doesn't matter. That's fine.
Okay, so let's try to work a schedule out
Yeah, I
by the
have a
first
schedule.
meeting in January.
Right, I have a schedule that I'll hand out to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you've already done it? Fine.
Yeah, just
Okay.
to get the
Well, he's already
input.
done it.
Okay.
Then they'll get the information back to me. I'll talk to everybody, because the idea is to know your budget. You know, to ask for what you think is reasonable within the guidelines, but then be able to sit down at a table and have a conversation. And my
About
goal-
your budget,
about
not,
your budget.
not just saying, well, that's what I got last year and that's what I'm gonna
Exactly.
need, okay.
You want to
That's
know
good.
what it's about, and my job is to kind of know what it's about. So then there's two of us at the table when we present to the FinCom, and then I'll put together a document that they can look at, so they get a little bit of homework to look at it. Then when we sit together, it's not the first time everybody's heard it, and then we talk it out and come to some type of compromise.
Do we still need another FinCom person?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's on a note here to ask, okay?
Do you have a preliminary timeframe of
Anybody
when you,
right
when you might have a budget in January?
I'm thinking the 14th, I'm gonna get everything back by the 14th. I'll need a week to
Perfect.
sit with people because.
What's our
some
last
people-
meeting, what's our last meeting in January? You want our last meeting in January?
January 25th
Is that good enough, January 25th, Mike?
at the latest.
Okay, then
Yeah,
that's good then. Okay, that good for you? Mike, B?
Yeah.
Okay. That it, Joe?
Yep. No, that's when he's going to have his budget, you said, right?
Right.
A preliminary budget.
Preliminary
Okay,
budget.
and
Preliminary,
then it'll be
preliminary.
ready for, you know, I'll give it to the selectmen and the FinCom and
Can we
everybody.
put on our next agenda a FinCom appointment? And let's really work hard at this?
Well, do you have a person?
No, do you?
No.
Yeah, but I'll work hard. I mean, if I put it on, it's kind of like a deadline thing. I'll start asking around. Maybe I can get somebody just to do it for this cycle rather than getting it 3 years. Say, yeah, I'll give you the commitment for the next 5, you know, just to get another person there, somebody that's familiar. Okay, so,
We had talked about decreasing the quorum. Can we do that?
say that again?
Can we decrease what we need for a vote?
How do you do that?
Together.
Town meeting vote.
You actually change the bylaw.
Yeah, okay, no, we can't do that. So, one thing we mentioned, you're gonna get together with Mike B. on setting up a schedule for the school. And you're gonna get to Mike B. on a schedule, for the pension liability.
You're being
And
busy
then
guy.
when you guys you're guys gonna present that on the, you're gonna have that ready by the 25th?
I'll be ready way before that.
But it will be ready by the 25th.
Absolutely.
Sound good?
Okay.
Just so we can have it all part of the budgeting process.
Mhm.
Okay?
I just had, we spent, just a comment, we spend probably 95% of our talking about the expense side of things, and we'll argue about $500 here and there. And I know it's a little harder to predict, but maybe some of our free cash problem or not problem, depending upon how you look at it, is our income coming in? Are we getting more new growth and so forth? Is our income side?
It's part of it.
Was it underestimated last year, and did we take in more than we expected significantly?
I don't know about significantly, but it's part of it.
So that's something
Okay.
we can look at.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything you guys want to convey to us, that's something that you might want to say to us that we have?
Concerns, opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Any concerns, opportunities?
Any concerns, or?
No, not yet. I think we have to do our diligence as soon as some numbers start coming through and working through our process. As of right now, I don't have anything.
Is there,
Could I just add, one thing to
closer,
think,
please?
one thing to think about is, it would take a bylaw change to reduce the quorum, but since we've had this problem of not enough finance committee members going for now a fairly long time, maybe consideration should be given to reducing the quorum to 3 instead of 4, just as a means of keeping things going in case.
There was a proposal out years ago, because this is not a new problem, that when we did not have a quorum, that the finance director would be able to vote. And I say that not because I would advocate that a non-taxpayer would vote on that, but just to say that it's been going on for a while, so maybe, yes, we need to look at that, to back up it's just not something that's happened. People say, well, a couple of let it change, maybe more people get involved. No, this has been going on before, this finance director, before the finance director before that, to go back to the other finance director. So it's been a while that we've had this things.
Has it been a while in recent history? Because, I mean, I was on the finance committee for 9 years, and we really didn't have a problem.
Yeah, that was the time where it didn't. You had some good committed people that showed up all the time. But before that good string of people came on, there was talk about having the finance director be able to vote on when they hadn't had a quorum because you weren't getting a quorum. So it's happened, you know what I mean? So maybe it's cyclical and it's going up and down, but obviously it's something that we need to look into because that we keep the same members, but just say there's a quorum of that, just so you can get work done. Right?
Well, I think we need to find another member.
We simply need to.
Yeah, but finding another member doesn't mean that everybody's going to show up to vote either.
Well, if we could think about it, that would be great. And
Okay.
Yeah, we'll think
We'll
it
do
would
that.
happen. It would happen. We'll put something together for us to look at. We'd have to vote on it at next town meeting.
And another thing, there's been talk among the finance committee that we would like to have the capital improvement committee talk to us and maybe, we agree.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, talk to them.
Right, and that's,
Have
I
they
think-
said no to you?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So why don't we
We
instead of
used to-
putting it on a future thing, let's have a little discussion about that right now. So what are you guys saying that, hey, we would like, what, to update our capital thing, have a little bit more comprehensive approach to the capital improvements report this year? And it could start with talking to the finance committee and that?
I'd
or-
like to have a more comprehensive capital plan that all they do is kind of evaluate what's coming up this year as opposed to manage the whole.
See, the thing is that we want, but we have volunteers. So that's, you know what I mean by that? So we have to weigh both things.
Well, should we,
It's like,
here's a radical idea.
people go, well, why don't you have a better website? Well, because, we don't have an IT department, and we do it with volunteerism, we do it, Mike does it, other departments, we try to do it, but
Should we, if we don't have enough people, should we combine the capital improvements and finance committee?
that would be a bylaw
Again, that
change.
would be a big change.
It absolutely would.
Well, one thing that at least some of us have noticed is that we get these sort of surprise, big capital improvement things that, boom, arrive. And
Shouldn't
maybe-
happen.
Right.
That a couple of months of dissecting and understanding it would be better than a week before, because it wasn't even on the schedule, but now it's on the schedule.
Or maybe a year before, or several
Yeah,
years
yeah, yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah.
Emergencies happen, but not that shouldn't happen.
Is there a standard template or format or something that could be a guideline that the committee could use to kind of streamline it? Yeah? That would account for all potentials in the
Well, it-
community that,
It's there, it just needs to be, it needs to just
In its,
have more meetings.
in its defense, it's way better than it was. I mean, we now have the properties of the town on there and things like that.
It has come a long way.
Weren't even included. So there are fewer surprises than there could have been in the past.
But everything can always be better, and sometimes people just need to be asked.
is there something that could be shared with us so we would at least know what's there to prompt questions?
Can you look into, can you look into this stuff and talk to them about it?
I'll send it to you.
And then ask the capital improvements committee that we're really, looking for a comprehensive report for this year and one that spans 5 years.
I have a couple examples. I'll email it to you also.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Joe?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Air handlers. They're all thank you. They're all installed.
I didn't put this on.
They're done?
They're done. I have a meeting this Thursday, 10 o'clock. I meet with the architect. That time might change a little bit depending upon the engineer.
Night, Carol.
Then we'll put together a timeline and a program. Thursday, 10 a.m.
Okay, I can't be there. We're asking for us to be there? We're
No,
just
you
telling
don't
us?
have to be there, no.
Okay.
I think you had asked last time when. the
Yeah,
meeting
well, yeah,
started.
yeah, well, obviously, if I could be there, but this is the busiest time of the year. Hey, any reason why we can't stand out in the freezing cold in that field and cut a ribbon? That it's gonna be in a gym with a bunch of kids?
No, you can still stand out there and cut the ribbon.
Okay.
You could do that first, but then we're looking to,
Do a presentation or something, or
yeah,
learning
well,
experience
basically-
with the kids?
yeah, basically is to make it an educational program. This is, he's talking about the, just a ribbon cutting for
Oh, I
solar.
know,
Yeah.
I'm familiar.
And we figured that would be better, more useful than having us, I mean, give a bunch of speeches to actually try to
Who would
get
do
some
that?
educational stuff.
Good.
Excellent progress. I wouldn't leave.
Okay.
Amoresco, amendment in need of, what is this?
Amendment in need of consent.
Yeah. what
There's
is this?
a consent to basically, that their
Is it
transfer.
over here?
I believe so.
Okay, I just
Did I
didn't
give
see
it to you, Chris?
It is what it is, okay, it is what it is, I don't wanna stop.
Oh, no, no,
I just didn't see anything.
I haven't gotten it yet, but I've,
Okay,
basically is that, as part of the deal, Amoresco is financing the property, and basically what they're doing, it's just like a sale leaseback. They're selling it to a financer, then leasing it back to them to run it. In order to do that, they have asked that the town consent to that transfer. And there's a consent that was drafted, and council and I have gone back and forth on a couple of changes to the terms. And so all you need to do now is vote to say you approve it, and then sign it when you can.
So this is basically so that they get some capital.
Exactly, what they
don't have a whole bunch of capital tied up in it, right? Or
Exactly. What they do is they use their own capital to basically build it all out. And then when it's all done and it's running, then they sell it, get their capital back, they lease it back, and basically they manage it, take a profit for that, and the financer basically gets a return on their investment, which is fixed and it's predictable. And
Okay.
I will say also is that it's up and running, and we've had some sunny days.
Oh,
We're
it's on?
actually- It's on.
Really? Oh.
It's on. It was November 23rd.
So our
was
December
turned-
electric bills are gonna tank.
What?
Our December electric bills will tank.
I wouldn't think that about this time of year would be the most optimal for gaining it. I think we have to,
do we need to vote on this, or just sign it?
yeah,
Make a motion to amend in need of
approve.
to approve, amend and,
amendment in
Need of
need
consent.
consent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Signing of liquor licenses?
We already approved them last time, so I think we just have to sign them.
Okay. We'll sign a request for Susan Babb to be on a committee for intergenerational community center.
Question. I didn't know we had that, there was a-
Committee?
Yeah.
We
so-
don't.
So I guess the first question is, did we want that committee?
This is something Marge Peters, well, we talked about it at that luncheon,
Yes, we did.
okay, that we went to, that they would
Yep.
like to get and have some type of dialogue with some people in town about maybe, maybe not, or at least start a conversation about a intergenerational community center.
Right, and I think we kind of felt at the time, and I don't, that we should look at a existing facility versus this isn't a charge to build a intergenerational facility.
Yep. Well, I think that intergeneration community center could be something that could be built, or could be in an existing. I don't think, I'm agreeing with you, it doesn't have to be a new facility.
Right, okay.
You know, multi-purpose, something that we already have, but
Right.
do something.
So do we want to have that committee, I guess, so back to that?
Yeah, why don't we have them come in January, maybe Marge, and ask, we can have a good discussion, and maybe ask for Park and Recs to come in, and have Marge come in and tell them, and give them the reasoning why they're coming in, so we can have a good discussion.
That's fine.
That sound good?
Yep.
Or maybe even, at that dialogue, we could even talk to them, maybe even getting the school involved, that if someday we are getting a new high school, maybe we get a multi-integrate,
Yes,
community center attached to the high school.
yeah. It's not a bad idea.
You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
you know, be very forward-thinking,
Yep.
you know? Okay.
Is just Susan Babb, is she, I don't know.
No.
Is she a resident?
She's the librarian.
Yeah, I know that.
Oh, no, she's not.
Oh, okay.
No,
That
she's
was,
not.
She's
I
from
knew,
Amesbury, isn't she?
Whatever, she's not a resident.
okay, well, answers that.
Announcement of the CPC total match of 161,754. Cataldo, Atlantic West Newbury Mutual Aid Dispatch.
What's that?
That was something that, Lisa's thing, he sent over because we had some conversations about it. It just outlines the response and stuff like that. This was more, I missed that when I was looking at it. It should have been more on correspondence,
Oh.
than really anything for discussion.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you get it?
So,
We do, yeah. But I told Dan Hoffenberg,
It was more for it was more for correspondence, and I didn't catch it.
well, I just wanted to ask.
Sure.
As the chief, if he thought that their plans for the mutual aid and so forth were
Adequate?
acceptable, yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They work, I mean, I don't have the exact data in front of me, but they work on what's referred to as hot and cold response, and that is based on where the location of the emergency is and where they're coming from. Since I took over as fire chief, I've been working closely with them to try to make sure that we're utilizing the right ambulance service for the emergencies in town. For instance, if we have calls to Pentucket during the afternoon, and one of their paramedic-based ambulances is located in Salisbury because they just cleared an emergency in Salisbury. I want a closer ambulance to come to our emergency. So that may be somebody coming from Haverhill, Byfield, Georgetown, Merrimack.
Rather than coming all the way up.
Yeah.
So does that cost them money, or
They have
how does that?
They have a
work?
mutual aid.
Yeah, they have agreements with
with
all, the ambulance providers all work together to try to pick
They
up.
do, okay.
Yeah.
They don't say, well, we're not gonna call them because
It's gonna cost us.
it's
an
gonna
extra
cost us
$1,000.
money, or, okay.
And we ultimately, I as the chief or the commander in charge of the scene, has the opportunity to request mutual aid to respond as well. So we have Atlantic coming to our emergencies, they come to all of our emergencies. But if we feel at the scene that something could be improved with somebody that we know may be closer, we can utilize that as well, so that's
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
good, thank you.
Make a motion to approve the used car dealers licenses, class 2.
Mike,
Mike,
when you do your thing for, if you do it this weekend, could you email us what time you're gonna do it? On Whetstone Street?
Oh, sure.
he's not saying that it has to be this weekend.
Whenever you do it, if it's,
When's your next training thing on Sunday? When is that? When's your next training on a Sunday?
We did training this week, we did them during the week this month, so we didn't do any weekend trainings.
So you're done for training for the December?
Yeah, we do air packs, so we did them on
Okay.
Wednesday, Thursday. So. But yeah, I'll make that quick.
thanks. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, no. I made a motion, is it
What was that? I
seconded?
didn't hear the motion.
To approve the used car dealership licenses, class 2 of the 3 that we have here, for James D. Pearson, Pearson Automotive, Matthew D. Bernal, and Crane Neck Oil. Auto
Second
LLC.
in a discussion.
Yep.
Is the Crane Neck Auto one, is this the same as in past years? Has there been any change to this?
In terms of what?
It's 3 bays in front of
Oh,
their location, also Food Mart, 60 by 30 feet.
No, this is,
Wait.
yeah, hold on. He's not asking what it is. He's asking if there's been any changes from the previous year. That's what the question is. No, there has not been any change. No, no. What's written down here has not changed from last year.
It's exactly the same. Okay.
No, 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 no. He's not saying that anything. He's just asking the question. So the answer is no, it's not different. This is not different.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah. Why?
Fine.
Okay. He just was
I
asking.
didn't, I was asking, was there an expanded use, that's all.
No,
Good.
not at all.
Okay, fine.
It's always been at Pearson's in front of the food mart.
Okay, good.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to accept the minutes of November 16th
As amended,
as
second.
amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve the minutes of November 30th as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve the invoice warrant.
Second.
Any discussion? I saw yellow stuff. Anything?
There was, I don't know what that was. There was, I don't know, I wrote the sticky
You got
notes.
any?
There was, I
No,
think there,
I was
Okay.
okay.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve the payroll warrant.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think the
abstain.
stickies were on signatures.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
Anything about putting things on future agenda?
No.
Oh, no.
Okay, let's talk about the meeting on December 28th.
Yes.
Is there anything on that agenda presently that can't be moved to January? If nothing's real pressing, does anybody care that it's moved to January?
No, just have to sign those things.
We can all come in. I mean, I don't know if anybody's going away. Not asking about anything. I'm asking these guys that if
It's
making
fine.
a determination or whatever, that we don't have the meeting, is that okay?
Yep.
There's only a couple things, you want to have the meeting?
Unless something
Are you
important
going
comes
away
up.
or anything?
No.
You're not going away?
I'm not going away, no.
Yeah, neither am I. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, I'm okay to have a meeting if that's, either way is fine.
That's fine. But we need to post it earlier because of the holiday is on Friday. So we would have to make sure it's posted by Wednesday, not
Right.
Thursday.
Right.
Our next meeting is December 28th. We are open for business on Thursday until 4:30 on the 24th, correct? Of December? That's a Thursday, right? So we would be open till business on Thursday, the 24th. Huh?
Christmas Eve?
Yes. We're open for business on Thursday, the 24th until 4:30, correct?
I'm not, I have to read the contract. Sometimes a contract, when a holiday falls on Friday, I'm not sure. I'd have to check. I don't remember last year, because when a holiday falls on a Friday, sometimes you get a half-day Thursday to make up, to get the full day. I'm not sure how it works.
No,
Yeah, I
no,
don't think so.
we have changed all of that, no. Absolutely not. Okay, so it is what it is. So I would like to, not have our employees be sticking around here until 4:30 on.
No, I was totally gonna bring that up.
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
what I'm bringing it up about, not to try to make anything more complicated.
Right.
Okay, so you want, everybody,
What do you wanna
they leave at noon?
do? That's fine.
That offices that the 1910 building will be closing at noon at Christmas Eve. To get that out there, right? So everybody the 1910 building will be closing, so that would take care of the 1910 building. That would take care of the DPW. That would take care of everybody. Except for, now what about the library? They seem to always go with a different drum.
That's under the board of library trustees.
Yeah, so they can do whatever they want over there. Okay, sound all right?
Yep.
Okay. Make a motion to go into executive session.
Could I ask you one question before you do that, please?
Sure.
Did you guys execute that police chief contract?
Say that again?
Did you execute the police chief's contract?
No, not yet. That's what,
That's what you're going into executive session for?
Yep.
Okay,
Very close.
very close, okay, thank you.
Make a motion to go into executive session for Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, against strategy session for negotiations with non-union personnel, and Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to consider to the purchase or exchange, lease, and the value of real estate.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll be coming out of
Only
executive
to
session to adjourn for the evening.